Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And this is definitely one of the most exciting podcasts. You've been on my hit list since day one.
Thanks. That sounds good. My hit list. Yeah.
Because we know each other. We've known each other for a few years. Well,
It's quite a few years now.
4 years?
4 or 5 years. But it's weird how we've never really come together. We kind of just keep meeting and then disappearing again. So it's nice to actually get together.
Yeah. And we've got so much in common, and it's just going to be a brilliant conversation.
Can't wait.
So let's start with who you are and what you do.
Wow. That's a question I ask my clients a lot, actually. Like, who are you without your identity? That's important. Who am I? That's a really good question. I am someone who is an empath. I'm someone who loves nurturing people. I'm a rescuer. So I always find the birds with a little bit of a broken wing. I love doing that. I do think my passion in life, and I think my mission, my purpose, I guess, in life is to be that person that kind of just supports others. But my job title, my identity of the title is actually I'm a mindset and wellbeing coach, but within the dance industry, because obviously that's all I've ever known, which is why it was really important that I kind of separated myself from that identity of being a dance teacher or a dancer. Because now working in the industry, being a coach, I understand that that's actually really quite detrimental to our own mental health when we only identify ourselves as a dancer, a dance teacher, because it's all we've ever known. So that's why when people ask me that question now, who are you? I'm like, oh, okay, I've done work on this.
And it's moving your mindset from being the doer to being the owner.
Absolutely.
And but yours is completely shift. So your background, obviously dance.
Oh my gosh, 45 years. When I said that the other day, I was like, oh my God, am I actually that old? Yes, I am. So 45 years ago, I started dancing, and it's all I've ever done.
And you were born into it?
I literally was born. I mean, for TMI, I was born in the splits.
Brilliant.
I'm really sorry.
Your mum was in the splits or you were in the splits?
No, I was in the splits. So for anyone listening or watching, I'm sorry for that image, but literally I was born in the splits.
Oh my God.
I had one leg stuck on my head and I was like,
brilliant.
ta-da! So literally was born in the splits. And my mum was a dancer as well. She was a teacher. So I think I was born to be a dancer. So yeah.
That's the same with me, because my mum, literally, I always say I was born into it, because my mum has had her school for 35 years and I am 35 years old.
Amazing.
And
I don't think it becomes something you just do. I think it's just, again, that's why it was so important about identity, purposing and stuff like that, because I think I don't know anything different other than being in that industry. From 2.5, I started dancing. So my earliest memories are just literally being in the studio or being on stage or at a competition or taking an exam. I was really fortunate to start working professionally at the age of 9. So it's all I've ever known. Never done anything else. It's quite scary.
Yeah, but same for me. And even the times where I wasn't dragged to the studio and you'd still be there, you'd have to observe. And all even though I'm not actually taking the class of dancing myself, I had to sit there with my homework or my colouring book or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think all that knowledge that I gained from subconsciously from hearing the corrections and all that on another student in a different class.
Absolutely.
I was getting all that knowledge subconsciously,
which
which I think benefited me as a dancer.
Oh, of course.
And then a teacher in the long run.
Oh, yeah. I mean, weirdly, when I'm teaching, obviously I'm not teaching now, but when I was teaching, quite often I would say something, I'd be like, oh my God, that was my mother. Did you have that as well? Yeah. Not in a bad way. I love my mum dearly, bless her. But quite often and if I had mirrors in the studio, I'd literally capture a movement of that's so my mum.
Yeah.
But she was an inspiration of mine anyway, she was such an amazing teacher. I loved the way that she nurtured kids. And I think because of the industry has such a dark side, and there was a lot of that growing up, my mum actually fulfilled what we now understand as a really mindful well-being space. My mum was doing that back then. She was a very different teacher. She was very innovative, ahead of her time, but didn't know it and didn't have any confidence in herself or her ability. So I think I learned a lot from her to kind of push myself, because my mum didn't push herself. She could have done so much more, but she just didn't have that confidence. So I think that's why I've always been a bit more bolshy, to be like, I'm going to push myself. maybe partly in memory of my mum, but also kind of like for me to kind of go, I don't want to regret. My mum had regrets that she didn't push herself. So I was like, no, I've got to be a bit more bolshy in the industry.
Yeah. I'd love to know more about your mum, because obviously you called your dance school Pamela Hebbard School of Dance after your mum.
She was amazing. She was, I don't know, like I say, she was innovative against her time, like her choreography skills. I mean, obviously, you know, our school shows are like on the old VHSs, which nobody owns a video recorder anymore to watch them. I mean, I think I do somewhere in the loft. But even if you watched her choreography back in the 80s, what she was choreographing was ahead of its time. And I always remember thinking like, oh my God, it was so creative, so clever. And everybody used to comment about her. But just the way she was with the kids, she had time. Like she just had time for them. She was really gentle in her approach. I don't think I ever heard my mum raise her voice once. The kids would just hang off of her leg and her skirts, because teachers used to wear teaching skirts back then, didn't they? It was a thing. And they would literally hang off of her every word. And I just remember, I think because it was my mum, me and my mum did not get on in class. We were the best of friends. But she tried to teach me once for maybe an hour, and it never happened again. I don't know about you, but I felt really uncomfortable kind of calling her Miss Pam, because that was the respectful thing. I was like, but it's mum. So like I just couldn't get my head around like calling her name. And then there's that age-old thing, anyone who's ever had their parent teach them anything, you feel like when they're giving you corrections, they're picking on you, but then when they don't give you corrections, you're ignoring me. So my mum could never get it right. And that's only through adult eyes in hindsight now. Back then, obviously, as a child, like, but watching her with other students, with other dancers, she got the best out of them just by her approach. And we're talking about the 80s and 90s in an era when smacking a kid was still kind of like a thing. You know, I mean, I still adore my principal and I still stand in first position and call her by Miss. But there was the stick, there was the cane, you know, and there was that kind of old mentality of how you get the best out of a student. But my mum didn't do that. And there was just something so wholesome about watching her in her craft. And I think that's where I really learned that you didn't have to be aggressive. You didn't have to use aggressive language or aggressive teaching methods to get the best from a child. You could just be a little bit calmer and a bit more nurturing and gentle with them to get the best out of them. So I think realistically, watching her has actually led me to doing kind of what I'm doing today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
She's my biggest inspiration.
Yeah. And sort of a lot of what you said then, I think it shows how ahead of her time she was having that approach, because even those that didn't necessarily, and obviously that was 80s before I was born just 90, just missed it.
I'm a 70s girl, late 70s, I'll put that in there.
So yeah. I've obviously not been in the era where smacking and whacking was accepted, but you would still sort of have that intimidation approach, the presence. They walk in the room and you're like, oh, shit.
Absolutely.
Quick, like pull up. Like,
yeah.
And not that I got that from my mum. I mean, I think she kind of, see, she's a funny one. And again, I'm the daughter, so maybe I look too deep into it. But she has that presence where you walk in, you know not to be stupid, like be respectful, you know your boundaries. But she is the most loving, caring, wholesome, nurturing teacher at the same time.
Yeah.
And when I was teaching, my approach was always mutual respect, because if you behave in a certain way to the student, at the end of the day, you're leading the class. It's up to you to set the tone.
Absolutely.
So I would have respect for my students. I would always have a really good boundary between we have fun, but we work hard. And the minute they weren't working hard, we stopped having fun. And it's finding that balance. And I always found I was really good at finding that line, which would earn their respect. So they'd always behave. Yeah. And one of the hardest things leaving my mum's school was leaving them, because I know how much they adored me and my classes. And I mean, I did adore them as well. And I've loved seeing their journeys online of them leaving and going off to colleges. And it's lovely knowing that I've made a difference to them.
Yeah.
And that's leaving that legacy in their brain.
Yeah.
When they're 90, they can look back and go, oh, I remember my dance.
That's what my driving force was when I opened up the school. I was like, I want my school to have that, you know, at the end of the day, if we're realistic about it, 1 in every sort of 100 kids might make in the industry, because it's just saturated and it's just brutal. If we're really honest, it's savage. And I'm very open and honest with my students that have wanted to go into the industry. I've never sugarcoated anything. I've always kept it very real and honest, but in a way that is supportive as well. You know, I don't want to give them the brutality of it that it puts them off, because at the end of the day, it's their journey, it's their decision. But I have opened it up for conversation to be like, but you do understand what it's going to be like. And this is, you know, you really need to, you know, kind of make sure that you're prepared for it. But I've always been open and honest with them. But I think the biggest driving force about the school when I opened it and I wanted the culture to be a certain way was about making sure that every child had those memories in years to come. I wanted to be that teacher that they look back on and go, oh, I remember Miss Kim, she did X, Y, Z for me, or she made me feel like this. And because I don't always have those memories from my childhood, you know, because obviously growing up in the industry, like it was, as I say, it was very different. And I was very fortunate to start working very young, but then that also exposed me to quite a lot of negativity and a lot of kind of brutality. So, and even not necessarily with working with, you know, producers or choreographers, but I think just the comparison, the perfectionism, like that was embedded to me very, very young, because I worked pro from very young. So I was exposed to a lot of that quite young. So I didn't want that for my students. I wanted somewhere that was safe. That is my biggest thing, is creating safe cultures. Somewhere at the end of the day that we don't know what these kids are going through when they're at home. As much as we know them, as well as we do in the studio, when they leave the studio, we don't know what they're going home to. And, you know, again, being really honest, from an exterior, a family can portray themselves as a really loving family. We don't know that that's what it's like at home. And I speak from experience. That was my childhood. My home life, my mum was my best friend, but my dad was a very brutal man. So my home life was not what people thought it was. The safest space for me to be was at the studio.
And you find that so much.
Absolutely. And this is why I'm so passionate about creating that space. So, because I don't know what these kids are going through. And it could just be something simple that they're struggling with at school. And that hour lesson can give them that relief. We know, I mean, I could go on for hours about like the impact that dance has mentally and physically, but just the hormones that are released, that serotonin, that endorphins, where we just feel good about ourselves. And physically moving stress and anxiety out of your body is so cathartic. And I did not realize I was doing it so instinctually when I was a kid. And when I do talks and I get into like deep conversations, I often say to people, dance actually saved my life. And that sounds really dramatic, but I genuinely mean that. Dance genuinely saved my life. It was the place that I could scream and cry without making a sound or leaving a tear, because it came out of my body.
Yeah.
And I could speak everything that I physically couldn't say out loud through my body. Tap's been my one favourite thing of my life, because I swear as soon as I put my tap shoes on and I feel that floor, it's like every bit of frustration, anger, resentment, whatever that like really heavy feeling is sat within me, I'm like, I am pounding my feet, you know, and it's just so cathartic for your body. But yeah, I think that's really doing so much personal development work on myself over the years. I've really understood the impact that dance has had on my life in a positive way. It's kept me on the straight and narrow. It's given me a purpose, and it gave me a safe space to just explore myself. But now I understand it on a really deep level. I want others to really understand you can create this too. And I think that's what's led me to where I am now.
Yeah. And you hear so often as well that dance is their outlet and the way they can express their emotions through their body and stuff like this. You do hear it a lot. And that's been a really strange thing throughout my life, as I have never felt that.
Really?
And the more I've thought about it as I've stepped away from dance.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah. As I've stepped away from dance, I've realised I was actually never meant to be a dancer for that purpose. Because I would dance for external validation.
Okay.
So
I mean, beautiful that you recognise that as well.
I do now. I didn't then. I would love being on a stage and having a round of applause, and put me centre front, give me a solo, whatever. Put me in a room and like talk in front of a few people, or even actually just dance in a studio. I remember at school we'd have the dance studios, and if we ever got up and did anything like it just in front of a few people, I would, it would make me want to cry and run away. But on a stage, there was something different. I don't know what.
Because it's not you. And I often say this, whenever I've been on a stage, that's not me. That isn't who I am. That's a character. And that's something I love doing when I'm working with students now, about gaining more confidence, and there's strategies that I give them about, you know, that alter ego, like who is it? And obviously when you turn pro, back then, we're talking the era when equity was a big thing and you had to get your equity card and all that malarkey, which is not so prevalent these days, but they encouraged you to have like a stage name. So I did have a stage name. My stage name was Kinney Lee. There's a whole story about how that came about as well. Obviously my name's Kim, like it's not Kimberly. And there's always been a joke of the fact that my mum just wanted a really basic name that they couldn't shorten. I've grown up going, I literally got 3 letters in 1 syllable. I was like, that's all I was worth. I didn't even get a middle name either. So I was like, thanks, Mum, it's just Kim. So to me, I was like, that's so bland and boring. I can't be Kim, because everybody thinks you're a Kimberly. And I'm like, it's just Kim. Like, it's literally just Kim. So we were going through, and obviously Kiki Dee, the singer, was quite a well-known singer. Like through the 80s, obviously she did some work with like Elton John and stuff like that. Kiki Dee, I know you're probably like, who the hell is that? Thanks, that's so much. Anyway, so we were like, Kiki Dee's like a really cool name. So I was like, I did a pantomime at the age of 10, and there was a guy in the panto who was a pro called Kinney Gardner, and I just loved the name Kinney, and I was like, but he spelt it with a Y on the end, and I was like, Kinney, that's really cool. And I was like, I like the name Kinney, so I spelt it with an I on the end. But then I was like, Kinney's just, again, it's just a bit bland. So I was like going through the alphabet with my mum. I literally can visualize myself sitting in the kitchen with her doing it, going Kinney B, Kinney C, Kinney D, and we got to Kinney Lee, and I was like, oh, love that. And that was how Kinney Lee was born. Wow. Literally over a cup of tea and going through the alphabet. That became my stage name. And I think when I went into auditions, when I went to like anything I did, in that room, I wasn't Kim, I was Kinney Lee. Like, it was just that alter ego. And I think realistically, even growing up doing competitions or whatever, like you're saying, like when you step on that stage for external validation, I did the same. I wanted external validation because I didn't get that from my home life. I didn't get any kind of validation. So for me, I was like, look, it was almost a way of being seen. Hi, I'm here kind of thing. And I was a very, very confident child externally. Internally, it was a completely different story. Yeah. There was a different narrative going on there. But externally, it was my way of, again, I think just using the energy that I was so pent up that I couldn't express at home. So when I got the opportunity to show off, as my mum used to call it, it was like, look at me, like I'd show off, absolutely. But I think even back then as a child, I think Kinney Lee was already born. I just didn't have a name for it.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's what you're kind of going, yeah, there was a different character.
I was never nurtured in that way to understand about almost having your persona. And this is actually something I'm going to start doing very soon, is going into dance schools and doing branding workshops with them.
Amazing.
So that they, with teenagers and those that are sort of about to leave college or about to go up to college, to learn the difference between them and the performer them.
Come back to your identity. Very first thing we talked about, splitting yourself off. Because when that identity becomes part of who you are, it becomes so entangled, you cannot separate it. And that is where you then get impacted by negative talk, you know, the disappointments or some of the dark stuff in the industry, and it pierces the core. You can't split yourself off because you are so entwined in that identity of I am Kim, a dancer, not actually I'm Kim, but Kinney Lee is the dancer. So whatever happens to Kinney Lee stays with Kinney Lee. Like, and I think that's so beautiful. You're doing that
because it's going to protect their mental health, and that's a massive thing. Obviously, I know that is with you, and we'll get onto that. But I think from not understanding that myself at that time, I think that's the reason I don't know. I think if I had more understanding of myself and possibilities and things when I was younger, maybe I would have been a successful performer. I'm not sure. But it definitely comes down to me wanting people. I think it was not necessarily the external validation of people are clapping for me. It's I'm good at that.
Yeah.
I want people to know that I'm good at that. But I was also a nightmare because I was that student that was naturally talented.
Right.
So I thought I didn't have to work hard. And I have, with my mum being my teacher as well, I think I was a massive frustration.
Yeah.
Because she sees the student in front of her, but she also has the frustration of her daughter in front of her.
Just get on and do it.
And she, my biggest cheerleader, she knew how good I was. She saw that talent. I knew I was, but it was because I was lucky. It's the way I was born. Whereas I've always found from teaching, some of the most successful dancers are those that came in with like Bambi on ice.
Yep. And have had to work
and
for it.
And they have worked and put in the time, put in the effort. And they've got that.
Yeah.
And they'll be the ones that go on to be successful.
Oh, 100%. I think when you're sitting back on your laurels and you're just like, this is easy, then you don't actually, I don't think you get the same gratitude for yourself from it. I don't think you get that same kind of self-satisfaction of like, you've had to really work for that. I was naturally talented. Again, I didn't sit on my laurels though. And I think that was just because my nurturing in my home life was very, very different. So I didn't get praised. So I really struggle, even as an adult now, when people say something nice to me, I have had to really work to just say thank you. And then internally I'm like, because it still makes me icky right now.
It's one of the biggest lessons I've learned.
Oh, massively. I've had to just kind of learn to say thank you.
And I remember when it happened, I walked in on my audition for Masters Performing Arts College in Rayleigh, Essex.
Right.
No longer there.
I know, yeah, so that was a time ago.
That's where I ended up going. And I still remember that audition. I was 16 years old. I went right at the very beginning. And it was the principal, Wendy Hedford. She obviously saw that natural talent within me. She could probably see the fact that I didn't appreciate that I had the natural talent, and I was like just floating through life.
Blasé.
And I had this thing where I remember in the sort of one-to-one interview sort of process, she was like, you're so talented, you're so this, to lead on to but when she had said the positive things, I pulled a face like, oh, don't say that to me. And she goes, why do you do that? And I was like, I don't know, it's a bit, obviously makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And she goes, you need to learn to take a compliment and just say thank you. And I remember that exact moment. And ever since then I have.
And I teach that
even if I
lot.
don't necessarily believe it.
No, you just have to say thank you.
Thank you.
And I teach that to students as well now, like obviously when I do my workshops with the mental wellbeing stuff, and I say to them, like, to me, when someone gives you a beautiful comment, a lovely kind of words of gone, praise or whatever, a lovely kind of like just a real good feeling comment, it's a verbal gift. And I often say to them, like, if someone gives you a birthday present, before you've unwrapped it, do you look at it and go, ugh? And they're like, no. And I'm like, but that's what a verbal gift is. So if someone gives you that lovely, positive comment and you've gone, you're literally throwing a gift back. And I've found by using that analogy, kids are like, oh. And that's just reinforced it for myself now. To be like, okay, it's discomfort, my discomfort, not theirs. They're being polite, they're saying something nice, just take it with gratitude and say thank you. And then internally I'm like, ugh. I get it all the time about my hair.
I think it's an emotional barrier.
Of course
as well.
it is. And again, do you not think that comes from our industry?
Yeah.
And I had this conversation with a client literally yesterday. We were talking about how the industry has left so many kind of layers of doubt and layers of negativity, self-talk. And I think a lot of that comes from, realistically, obviously we're very different because we have parents that obviously were teachers, but let's go to the industry like at college level. How much praise did you actually really get in your lesson? Because I don't remember much. I remember the negatives. I remember I could tell you everything I wasn't good at, but I can't tell you the things I was good at because I don't think I heard it. Because all you ever hear is like, you've got to work harder on this. This is not good enough. Check out that girl over there. You need to be as good as her. So all you were ever seeing was the negatives or the things that you weren't good at. Very, very often, not very often did I hear, that's really good, you're really good at that. Or, well done, you've worked. Do you know what I mean? So you're constantly looking for the negative. So when you hear a positive, it's so uncomfortable because you're like, do you actually mean that? Or are you just saying something to be nice? Yeah. That's my understanding.
I think that's partly a generational shift in that, and it's the way you talk. And I think during the 80s, it was much more like that because there wasn't the awareness around mental health. If I don't soften that criticism, then they don't think of the outcome of what might happen.
I mean, that's my niche. Language is my absolute favourite thing to talk about. And that's the thing that, like now I use a lot of my own experiences to really kind of reframe language now to think, well, actually, had I have heard, a positive comment, along with the constructive critique,
Yeah.
that would have helped me, just positive reinforcement language, that would have helped me to kind of probably progress more in some of the areas. Whereas when I was constantly just getting negative criticisms, sometimes there was a little bit of resentment. You're a teenager, for God's sake. Of course you're going to have that little bit of like, whatever. But I don't think I pushed myself. There are parts of me that I think, could I have done better in that? And I think, yeah, I probably could have done. But I didn't get nurtured. I just got the negative. And sometimes it put a barrier up of like, well, what's the point then?
Yeah.
If you've said to me that I'm rubbish at that, what is the point in trying?
Yeah.
So I think that's where language is definitely starting to shift. We're just not there yet. There's a lot of work to be done.
I think as well, I've always kind of been so away with the fairies. I live in my own little bubble.
Sometimes to the point it's really good though.
To the point that if someone says, I'm sure people have said things like this to me before, but I don't remember it because I don't think I actually cared that much. I'm like, oh, okay,
which
thanks.
is great.
But I didn't necessarily believe it, so it went over my head. And I'm sure I would have been corrected, obviously, at college. And I think it was maybe always done in a decent way because I don't remember anything. There's no trauma there. The thing that sticks with me, which comes down to the subconscious positioning of the structure of their college, which I'm not sure about anymore. This was 15, 16 years ago. But we would have, particularly for ballet, we would have A and Bs. And I was in the B group for ballet. I was the crap one. The A's got Lorraine Swain. Do you know Lorraine Swain?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Lorraine.
So the A's...
Still love that woman.
The A's got Lorraine Swain. And everyone like, oh no, Lorraine, like, we must Miss Lorraine, she's coming in the building, she's going to poke you with that nail.
Oh, yeah, those damn nails. She still has them.
But everyone wanted her as a teacher because she was the one that got really good dancers. The B team, I can't even remember who my ballet teacher was.
That says it all, doesn't it?
but it's that makes me go, all right, fine. I know I'm not a ballerina. I was commercial. Like my dream was to go and be a backing dancer for Missy Elliott and Sean Paul. Like I wasn't going to go and be in Swan Lake. But at the same time, even if those groups were mixed, if it wasn't the A's are the good ones and the B's are the not so good ones, if they were mixed, yes, maybe they needed to separate the groups because it was a big year. I would have worked harder because I'd have been, okay, yeah, I'm in with the good ones as well. Like rather than just like, yeah, we're all crap at ballet, we're all commercial dancers, let's just mess around and do cartwheels in ballet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that sort of subconscious effect it's had on me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That made me go, oh, I'm not going to bother. It doesn't matter. And I think as well, not just the students, but the teacher. The teacher is like, oh, I mustn't be that good of a teacher because I get the B group. And it's like...
No, but you're right. Like, yeah, and it is that unconscious kind of like level that we don't realise has an impact. Even like later on in life when you sort of kind of go, say something's categorised like first group and second group or A's and B's and you're like, does that mean that we're less than? So it does have a massive impact. And I think that's why I love now obviously doing the work with the teachers to get them to really think about these things. Just have that little bit of mindfulness around what is the impact going to be on that child? Because whilst you might be doing it in good intention, and like, as I say, language is probably one of my favourite subjects to talk about, but some of the words that you say, you might think is motivational, but actually it's not about what you've said, it's about how it's landed in that brain. And again, like you can really dive into the different age groups, like your 3 and 4 year olds. Well, of course, you're going to use different language at 3 and 4 than what you are at 14 and 15. But it equally is...
And a different tone as well.
Well, children under the age of 7 under the age of 7 don't understand tones. They don't get tone. So they don't even understand sarcasm. Their brains cannot comprehend tone up until the age of 7.
Actually, my 6-year-old, he's the most sarcastic 6-year-old.
But again, probably doesn't understand it, just is naturally... Are you a sarcastic person though?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, it's learned behaviour.
That's my humour.
Yeah. My humour is a very dark humour, very sarcastic humour. But they don't understand tone. So again, if a teacher's using a particular tone to try and motivate them or whatever, it washes over them. And that's why some teachers get really frustrated because they're like, why are they not understanding? Well, they don't understand what you're trying to get from them.
Yeah, you have to be very direct.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like even when you go through like when someone dies in the family or a pet dies or something with a young child, they're very like factual.
Yeah, because
it's you have to be direct with a young child.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, when they're that age, you have to give them the facts because they don't understand the fluffy talk
or anything. It's the equivalent.
Yeah,
of
off with the angels, and they're like, where? Like they literally need that fact.
Yeah.
But then you look at things like your tweens, as we call them these days, like you're sort of not they're getting younger and younger, aren't they? Let's be fair. preteens are now like 9. Mm-hmm. Some of them are 8. I mean, they definitely have a lot of sass at the age of 8. But even maturity, like puberty, is hitting them younger, which is really scary. But that language, they start thinking that they're older than they are. So then again, you have to match your language to how their brains are really perceiving the world around them. So the language that you use with a 9, 10, 11-year-old, again, is going to be really different to a 12 and 13-year-old, because when they go to senior school, their worlds completely shift. Year 6 to year 7 is like death years.
This is what I'm preparing for.
Be prepared.
My daughter's 11. She's in year 6.
You've got it all to come in the next
September
12 months.
Should be year 7.
And it shifts, their world shift. And parents it really annoys me when I hear some parents go, oh, well, it's just normal because they're 12 and 13, or, they're just a teenager. Yes and no, but we can support that. Obviously, I don't have children myself, but which in actual fact, for years I used to get frustrated when people used to throw that at me and go, well, you don't have kids, so what do you know? Oh, I've had that many a times. And if people actually knew why I didn't have children, it wasn't through choice, it's through health reasons. But people are quite brutal, aren't they? They're like,
horrible.
I've had that from a few of the parents over the years. Well, you don't have children, do you? So what do you know?
Oh my gosh.
Well, actually, I'm in a better position. And I'll tell you why I'm in a better position, because I'm not biased. I come from a very unbiased opinion around parenting, children's, and also I have what I now to be like a bit of a superpower, a really good ability to step back into my different selves of different ages. And I go back to my 7-year-old self. I go back to my 10-year-old self, and I look and kind of have a chat with her and be like, what did I need at 10? What could I have done at 10? How could I nurture my 10-year-old self? And then it allows me to see, that relationship with that parent. I've been a mediator between parent and child so many times, like over the years, and I have been the spare mum. Some of them are like, you're like the extra mum that I never really had, which is beautiful. But I think it's because I get onto their level of maturity and I get to the language that they need rather than what a parent thinks they should be saying. And they're just not communicating. It's just an alignment with them on a language basis.
Absolutely. And the closer together you are, like the closer your relationship and that, the harder it can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you become blind and things get blurred. And
yeah.
It is definitely, I mean, that's why therapists are great as well.
Oh my God, don't even start me on that. I can't live without mine. Literally, I can't live without mine. Yeah. She keeps me sane. But it's not just that. It's also like talking itself is one of the most important things that we don't do enough of. And again, I think from personal experience of having so much of my life where I didn't speak much and I literally was very mute over 20 years ago, my ex-husband, because of, I think we're going into a different trajectory, but because of my upbringing and my understanding around relationships between a male and a female was very warped, because my dad was very Victorian. He was a policeman. So he came with a lot of kind of authoritarian. That's a word that's not coming out today. Authority. There we go. We'll go with that one. Figure. Like, he was very strict. But he was just not a nice man. He was very narcissistic. So I grew up in that very kind of fragile atmosphere. So my understanding about relationships was very warped. So I ended up marrying someone who was very much like my dad. And I was completely stripped of all my personality to the point I stopped talking. Literally did stop talking, which I know is really hard to imagine, Jess. Because people that meet you now, they're like, sorry. And I'm like, I literally didn't talk. But my now husband knew me back then, and I just didn't speak. I didn't look up from the floor. I had really long hair. I looked at the ground. But again, it was just because of the whole kind of understanding around how language impacts you, how your environment impacts you. So I think coming from that and now being the person I am now, I can go back to so many different parts of my life and know that the impact of the atmosphere or the way that someone speaks or the environment, like what that impact can do to someone. And I think that's what's made me more, I don't know. I think I feel like sometimes I can kind of sit right above like a bird's eye view of just so many things that are going, and I see things very differently, which is a little bit weird. Like, I don't know. It's really hard to explain sometimes.
I think it's not something you can learn.
It's really not. I can't.
A natural sort of aura, and
I feel
within you. You're very intuitive.
Massively intuitive.
To different situations, different people,
And I really do feel people's emotions as well. Like, so it's a blessing, but it can be a curse sometimes, because sometimes if there's a situation with people that I'm kind of close with or friends with, or again, if it's a parent and their child and I'm kind of the mediator between them, like I know what's really going on, but it's very difficult because there's a professional boundary that you can't cross. But I also absorb that energy sometimes, and that kind of emotions, and that drains me. And I've only recently learned that in the last couple of years since doing the work I'm doing. When I spend a whole day doing a student workshop and I might have 30 kids in a room where I'm doing mental well-being work with them, by the time I finish, I always do something that's a very somatic piece. So do you know what somatic therapy is?
I've heard of it. But
so somatic therapy, somatic work is very much like where you remove through certain movements. You've got like hotspots, like your shoulders, your hip flexors are one of the biggest places to store trauma. So when you do certain movements, kids get really emotional and they're like, why am I crying? And I'm like, I understand why you're crying, because I've made you do a certain movement to release what you've been storing.
I used to do this in my stretch classes.
Yeah. And I get kids that are literally bawling their eyes out and they're like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm like, I do. I don't know why you're crying, but I know that you've stored it because I literally could sense that it was stuck in your body. So when I do that work, for those 6 hours, am literally like gathering all their emotions so that they can release them, and I literally take them on board. On the next day, the first few times I did these workshops, I was like, I feel like death warmed up. Like, what is wrong with me? I couldn't move. I was getting headaches, and I literally felt like I just needed to sleep. And it was only through talking to my therapist that I've had for like 8 years that she was like, do you understand what's going on? And it is just a transference of emotions.
Wow, you're absorbing their emotion.
And I literally was absorbing. And now I make sure that the day after a workshop is completely empty in my diary because I have to decompress. And that goes into a bit more like woo-woo stuff, which I absolutely love.
Makes so much sense.
But if you really dive into the science behind it, there is actually a lot, of validation there. But yeah, that's where I understand now. And like coming back to what you're saying, like I find it really hard. People say to me sometimes like, how do you know that about me? Because I've had people say to me, can you read me? And I'm like, absolutely. Like, and I say to them, this is where I feel you're struggling with right now. I'm sensing this. And like, how do you know that? I'm like, I don't know. I just do.
You just feel that.
And I think
eyes say a lot as well.
Yeah.
I think you can tell by someone's eyes. And going back to the stretch class that I used to do, the biggest one I always found was, like you said, shoulders, either like in a bridge pushing up against the wall, sort of stretching the shoulders out, or in like a frog position, laying on your front up against the wall, and dropping your hips down to the floor. And that, like, they would sort of have this barrier and you'd be like, right, relax. They'd go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then suddenly it just falls
your whole
through.
body just goes, oh.
And then they start to well up. But I'm looking into their eyes because obviously you're trying to make sure they're not hurting themselves.
Yeah.
There's good pain and bad pain.
Yeah.
And you have to look into their eyes, and their eyes will tell you if you're in the right place or not.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, something changes, doesn't it? And I think I was talking about this in another podcast with someone, that it is that connection, that aura, like something that is coming out of someone that you can feel, plus the eye contact, and you're like, you just know.
You just absorb everything. They don't, and they half the time they don't even know. Mm-hmm. They don't even know what's coming up for them. They don't know why they're feeling the way they do. And I'm like, don't question it. Don't ask. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
And realistically, in essence, what we're trying to say is it's about more being about present with yourself and having a real sense of presence with yourself. But I think when you facilitate a space like that, especially when I get the opportunity in it, and I am grateful for the work I do to be with those kids, and I allow them to have that safe space to go, let go, it's okay. I mean, I remember one workshop I did, and I could see that the whole day this kid was so barriered, so resistant. And I'm almost like a bit of like, when I see someone that won't let go, I kind of like, I'm going to make this kid break. And I don't mean it in a nasty way, but I'm like, I've got to get this kid to release. And we did this somatic movement piece. I always finish my workshops with this piece. It's not a dance. It's just literally like certain movements, but the workshop throughout the day asks some various questions. We do some writing tasks. So I'm getting them to bring up thoughts and emotions all the time.
That have been pushed back.
That's been pushed back to the surface, to the point. And you can see that they're very resistant, but I'm like, but at least I've made you think about it. I've sown that seed. So when we finish with the somatic piece, with the music and certain movements, which I know are trigger points in the body, they have no choice but to let go. And this kid, you could see, we would literally lay on the floor to finish with our knees bent and the palms of your hands just to the ceiling. And I could see that she was starting to silently cry. And I walked over to her and I said, am I okay to place my hand on your tummy? And she went, yeah. And I put my hand on her tummy and I said, I want you to take a deep breath and push into my hand. And as soon as she took the deep breath, she howled. like a wolf. It was like, what? She was wailing. But you know what was so beautiful? Not one kid in that room was like, what's going on? They all just, and then all of a sudden, everybody else started. It was like permission.
That gave her permission.
And the principal of the school was like,
what have you just done?
She was crying because she was like, what have you just done to my kids? And I was like, how? And I actually, the first few times it happened, I came away with guilt, and I had to really work on that with myself, because I was like, oh my God, am I doing the right thing for these kids? Am I opening up? But actually I wasn't asking them questions. I was just giving them permission to cry and release their bodies. Now I actually think I actually think I'm so grateful that I get to do that.
Superpower.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
It's amazing.
But I think going back, like the intuition thing as well, I think just to add into that, I think for some people that kind of go, oh, I don't know where that comes from, I actually now understand why I'm so intuitive. And it comes back to, again, reframing, taking negatives and turning them into positives. My dad, because of the way that he was, I could tell by the way that he opened the front door when he come home from work, what mood he was in. I read the atmosphere in the house from such a young age, well, from the day I was born, that I became so intuitive to energy. And I think that has, I've grown up to understand
That's interesting,
how to read.
because me and my mum have talked about this with my dad, and my dad is, I've had a completely opposite experience to you, in that my dad is the most incredible dad, husband,
Amazing.
everything. He's a beautiful man. But if he's had a bad day, when he's got a mood on, you know about it. And he's never nasty to anyone, but you can feel it. You can feel his internal
Yeah.
And you can tell by the way he walks in the door. And I've obviously picked up on that over childhood.
Yeah.
So now when my partner comes in the door, I know if he's had a good day at work or not.
100%.
Straight away.
100%.
And it's crazy, isn't it? How you can pick up on vibes.
But you've also got to be really careful, because I have to be really careful not to always tap into that with people, because sometimes I feel like I'm always switched on, and I don't get that downtime sometimes to be like not trying to read someone. So sometimes you have to just kind of go, just sit with a coffee and have a chat. Like, don't try and read their energy. Like, just let whatever comes up come up. But some people do find it a bit annoying.
That's hard. I would just, because I think I've always, and this is something I've only realised recently, I've always been the corrector of mood, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I'm the
smooth it over.
Yeah,
the one that tries to fill the cracks and just 100%.
I'm the one. I've always been like, if you ask people that I went to school with, I was the funny, happy one. Like I make people laugh, I make people feel good.
That's me.
But I think that's because when I felt that negative energy from my dad, I don't want my dad to feel like that, and it can affect the whole mood of the house. So I need to instantly lift that up. And I found myself, even the other day, it was his birthday, and me, him and my mum all went out for lunch. But I stepped into the studio, obviously, meet them at the studio as we do, and stepped in, and he's not in a bad mood. There's no like bad energy or anything, but instantly I walk in and I go, happy birthday, like really loud, like instantly have that need to inject some positive
energy,
and just in case he's not feeling happy or my mum's not feeling, I don't know what this is within me that is like.
Isn't it interesting that I do exactly the same? However, we're both coming at it from different experiences, but we've both ended up on the same kind of pathway of how we manage that different energy shift. So it's really interesting. I mean, as I say, I could talk about this for hours, like go back to like where things come from, because I find it so fascinating to understand our makeup and our genetic, and also like the beliefs around ourselves and just the way that you act around things all goes back to our childhood. But it's interesting how both of us feel the need to be the rescuer, as we call it, and be that one that, and essentially that's what you're doing, just through an energy of like, right, come on, let's be happy, like that is being the rescuer. But we've both ended up being like that, but from different angles,
reasons.
Interesting,
very interesting. There is one thing that I do really want to talk about.
Go for it.
Because I know this is something you've suffered with in the past, and I currently have a family member going through it, and a member of, well, a student that I know, who are both going through anorexia, bulimia, eating disorders of some kind. And I would just love to know, because we're talking very psychological and deep, and I would love to know your experience with that and any help and advice you can give from your experience, from all the training you have, and anything that you could do for someone, which I'm sure you've probably met plenty of people and helped them through it.
Yeah.
What can you say to anyone that is going through this sort of challenge? They're both similar ages, actually, the two that I've got in my mind, sort of late teens, early adults. And just any way you can help them acknowledge the way they're feeling.
It's really hard because I think, you know, with anything, like certainly with eating disorders, it still kind of comes under the umbrella of like addiction, really, doesn't it? And like, obviously, because you become addicted to either not eating or addicted to kind of, you know, bulimia, obviously, you know, that kind of purging, so to speak. But realistically, it's not about treating just the surface level of the actual essence of I don't want to eat because I don't want to put weight on, or I'm a huge believer from experience, from training, from knowledge, from talking to others, that it has to go back to the real core essence of where that came from.
Yeah.
And not just treating the problem of you need to eat. Well, we know that. My rational brain knows that that's what I've got to do. Mine was very, very different because I think for me, I still have I wouldn't say an unhealthy relationship with food, but we have a relationship. It's not unhealthy, it's not healthy. We have conversations. You know, I'm not a foodie. I'm not someone who's like, oh, I'd love to go and eat this beautiful meal. I'm like, food is just, it's fuel, isn't it? Like, don't get me wrong, like there's certain things I enjoy, but I'm not someone who's like a foodie. It's taken me a long, long time. And I think, again, some of that's to do with age and a little bit more experience and just, you know, I think just the natural age thing of kind of giving less like care about things. But I think silly little things like for years, eating a cake. Okay, right, I'll have a piece of cake because my friends are having a piece of cake. But then tomorrow, we can't eat anything tomorrow because we have to undo what we've done today. So that was my relationship. So from the exterior point of view, did I look like I was unwell? Absolutely not. But you don't always have to. And this is, again, something that's really important for some people. Eating disorders don't look like eating disorders. It's just about a relationship with that food. You know, and again, I think, you know, some people that are maybe the opposite, that are obese, that's still an eating disorder, but it's just a different perception of eating disorders. But I think certainly within the dance industry, a lot of it comes from that, sadly, that pressure of the body image. We still are running with the ideal body type, the dancer's body. And that, again, comes down to language, about how we start speaking about things like this. It's changing. We are moving. I just don't think we're moving fast enough.
Do you think it is... do you think it affects more students that are looking to go more down a classical route?
Oh, yeah.
To those that are wanting to go more commercial route?
Yeah, I think commercial and musical theatre. Yeah, commercial, you're allowed to have a booty.
That's probably why I was.
I should have. I was just about to say, I should have so been a commercial dancer. I had more than enough booty for anyone, and I could shake it as well. But yeah, like I think commercial. I think because of the kind of nature of where commercial really comes from. It's got that very kind of urban feel. Like obviously, again, like the ethnicity behind some of the commercial really comes from. It's okay to have a figure. It's okay to have, you know, you say like a booty, shape. Like you can, yeah, shape, curves. Musical theatre wasn't so many years ago, but now it's great because body shape is being kind of broadened. Like you're not going to a West End show now and seeing the ensemble all looking the same size, the same height. You are seeing girls. It's really sad, actually. I went to see 42nd Street, oh gosh, probably about 7-8 years ago now. And in the lineup of ensemble, I was annoyed at myself because I was like, it was passing not a judgment, but a bias of the kind of going, oh my God, there's a girl up there that's actually got thighs and a bum. And then I was like, but that's really sad that I've recognised that there is a girl that's got thighs and a bum.
To a point where that's normal, like, that we don't
absolutely.
even notice.
And then, but that was the conversation I had with myself, and I was like, okay, but that's okay because it's not the normal thing at the moment. We are in that transition period, but now you do see a lot of different shaped dancers on the West End now. And I think musical theatre is definitely shifting. I think cruise ships are shifting. You're seeing girls that have got figures now, like even like having a bit of a bigger bust, something I've never had to suffer with. But like, you know, some girls that, you know, I remember being on a cruise contract where one of the girls was quite big, and she used to like double up on her bras because
to squash them down
because she was shamed by having a big bust. Whereas me, I kid you not, I used gaffer tape to try and pull mine together with a ton of blusher to make it look like I had boobs. Do you know what I mean? So like,
there's that whole, and I've always been, my whole teaching life, so from I actually began teaching unprofessionally since about the age of 11, because my mum knew that choreography was always my thing. So she gave me my own class. Like,
awesome.
It was
love that.
Brilliant. But my whole sort of professional teaching from the age of 18, 19, it was, I hate how the examining bodies like everyone to be clones. And it was always my thing of, and again, this wasn't really a movement at that point, because this would have been 2010-ish. So maybe just being spoken about a little bit more. I didn't want everybody to wear the same uniform necessarily. If someone has got a certain body insecurity, why are you forcing them to wear something that they're not going to perform their best in, for example? Then you get into all your skin tones and everything, which shades dance wear. We're coming out into
amazing,
like, brilliant things. But it's, you don't need to all look the same. You need to lean into what makes you different.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm thinking, when you're talking now, I'm thinking Rockettes.
Oh,
do we think the Rockettes need to jump on this to make a change?
Okay, I mean, do they need to? I mean, obviously, I think with the way that we're changing this we're trying to change this industry to be a bit more positive, body conscious, positive, etc. I'd love to see Rockettes actually like looking different. Will they?
Because they're the ones you have to have your leg the same height.
Oh my God, they literally measure you. It's brutal. It's brutal, the audition process that they go through. I mean, don't get me wrong, like when you watch them choreographically, my little OCD brain.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Is it?
Formations.
And exactly. My OCD brain goes, this is so beautiful. Like it's
like
all
ASMR.
Yeah, it's like beautiful formations and everything's like so slick.
Yeah.
Only a dream of like getting your students to look like that. But then I kind of think, I always go that psychological aspect of like, how much damage is it making in you internally? Because like, you are just a number. You're just another person. So I think, would they? No, I don't think they will ever change. But then it's no different than asking like Royal Ballet or, you know, whichever ballet comes in.
So then that brings me on to thinking they need someone like you going in there, because I think there is a beauty in the Rockettes and whoever all being the same. Because like you say, it's so therapeutic to watch.
Yeah.
But I think part of that audition process needs to be a mental health evaluation and making sure they're having the support for, yes, this is the discipline, this is the performance. You are going into something where it's all the same. That doesn't mean that what you're bringing to the table isn't good enough. It just means that this is how we like it, and that's the beauty within it. Because we don't want to go too woke and be like, oh.
Yeah.
Because there is still that uniformed beauty.
Yeah, of course.
But then having someone like yourself coming and just checking in and being like, you know that we're not asking you to do this because you're not good enough, or because it's just the way it is.
And again, I think it's like coming down to like pastoral care. I mean, a lot of colleges now are bringing in pastoral carers. However, it's another conversation we could go down, but like there are some that I think they're not, it's a tick box. We're offering it because it makes us look good. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I was working for someone which I will remain nameless, but obviously at one point where I knew it was literally just for show that we really nurture our students, we really care about them. And then I literally was listening in the coffee room with the teachers and the directors completely belittling them. And I'm like, and that's why I was like, thank you very much, I'm done. Because it was against everything that I'm kind of like fighting for. So whilst I think there are some companies that will say that they give pastoral care and they nurture their clients or their dancers and their staff or whatever. I don't think we're there yet that it's actually meant. And I think doing something like a mental health evaluation is really important, which is like a big company, like you're saying, like the Rockettes. It's going back to, my brain kind of went to auditions as well, actually, because again, I went straight to that old thought of like a cattle market, because you aren't a human, you are just a number. And I do, like you're saying, yes, as much as things like the Rockettes are just beautiful to watch, and we can't take away how incredible they are, but it's brutal. Their training regime is mental. It's like, it's a full-on sport. They're so fit. Their rehearsal schedule is just insane. And it is beautiful, but I do worry about those dances. It's not so much when they're in it, it's when they come out. And that's what I find with so many of people that I've talked with, clients that I work with. It's the after effect. And I think if that mental health has not been nurtured from the beginning, when they're growing up, which is why obviously it's so important now to start getting this to go to the next layer down. Like, I love working with, dancers, but actually we kind of need to start when they're really little. And it comes from the teachers. So that's why I've kind of pivoted, and I'm now training teachers and examination boards. I'm doing the work up there, because then actually more teachers that know how to do this better the kids are going to be. And then that next generation of dancers are going to be so much more balanced, aligned and healthier. But there is a massive fallout of ex-professionals, ex-teachers that are now seeing, oh my God, the damage that was done to my confidence back then, unbeknown, because at the time, you're having a great time. I'm a Rockette or I'm a dancer.
It's the status with
absolutely.
That as well.
Primas, you go into ballet company and stuff like that. Of course, like, oh yeah, I've just played, whatever in the Nutcracker, or, this is what I'm doing. But it's the fallout when their bodies start giving up. Then they start reassessing and reevaluating themselves. And then this is where everything starts to unravel.
Yeah. And this is why I'm so passionate about going in science brand workshops.
I think it's amazing.
They, especially like you say, coming out that other end of it, that is your identity. You only know yourself as a dancer, a performer, a prima ballerina, whatever title you've adopted throughout your journey. When you can no longer do that and you're coming out the other end, who
are you?
If they would have had some sort of, this is where I want to go in with the teenagers and the people at the start of their journey, to prepare them, have that solid barrier between Kimmy
the dancer,
and Kim, so that they're protected for when they come out of it. They're not, and even those that want to stop and have a baby halfway through, or they can feel like they can go back, because I don't know, it's securing, and it does come down to mental health again.
Absolutely.
Doesn't it?
And I know we started this conversation talking about eating disorders, but that, I think we went off on a tangent, but it's still really relevant. I think coming back to, if we can't save everyone from obviously, mental health issues. And there are, I think, some kids that potentially will end up with eating disorders because of various factors. Mine wasn't just the industry. And I said it, I spoke beautifully fondly of my mum earlier on, and I still believe that she was like so inspirational, my best friend. But she actually started my issue with my food. And I remember vividly being at a festival, dance competition one weekend. And I was probably around about 8, 9, and my nan, my mum's mum, she was also my biggest raving fan.
She was a dance teacher as well, wasn't she?
No, she was a dancer. Oh, right. She was a dancer when she was younger. Right. And then obviously my mum was a dancer and then became a teacher. So my nan did dance. But obviously we're going back to like the 30s and 40s. Like, there was nothing around, like, financially wasn't able to do it, but she did dance. So the three of us, we called ourselves the Three Amigos, because we literally, like, every dance competition, every audition, there was my mum and my nan. And it was amazing. I had such a great relationship with both of them. But I remember my nan used to love giving us like treats at festivals, because like they're long days, aren't they? Like, and I remember on the Isle of Wight, because I lived in Portsmouth and we used to do the Isle of Wight Dance Festival. So we'd get the catamaran every single day with our costumes and props backwards and forwards. It was a great week. Like, it was the best week, because all of my dance friends, my duet partners and stuff, like that catamaran journey was like so much fun. But I literally can vividly remember sitting there in the Shanklin Theatre, and I was just about to eat, I think it was like a donut, and my mum, and this is where I say motivational things that we think are motivational can do harm. I was literally just about to eat a donut, bearing in mind I'd been dancing all day, and she literally tapped my thighs and went and gave me that look, and I was like, and that I know was the start, with the trigger, because it made me go, oh, this is bad food. And because she tapped my thighs, now I'm curvy in the sense of like I've got a tiny waist, no boobs, but I've always had hips and a bum. So is my mum. So I think she struggled. She was a yo-yo dieter. Like she would kind of put a lot, and my mum was 5 foot and a fag butt, so she was really short. So if she put weight on, it was very noticeable, but then she'd go really skinny and then she'd go really big and then really skinny. So she yo-yoed. So I was also brought up in a culture watching my mum constantly be on a yo-yo diet. So to me, being on a diet is a normal thing because it's just what you do, isn't it? So again, you learn from your environment. But I remember so vividly that tap on my legs just as I was about to eat something was the beginning of me questioning my weight and questioning food.
How old were you?
About 8. But then it only got solidified from, I was bullied at school for wearing glasses and having a bum. So like, awesome. And then obviously starting to work at the age of 9 was my first professional job. So then I've started becoming a bit more body conscious at auditions and being compared to other students. And it's that comparison, which, okay, there's 2 sides of that. Well, yeah, of course, when you go to an audition, you are being compared to the other people because they're trying to find the right person for the job. But again, it's about understanding that comparison isn't your self-worth. It isn't validating or not validating who you are as a person. It's just, you weren't right for the job today. But that is something that we don't really teach. And it was never taught for me that I wasn't the right person today. It's not because you don't look right. So that started solidifying that maybe I was too big. So then I started having that really unhealthy kind of mentality around my body. And I would do my own exercise regime. Like I remember on my bedroom wall, I had like this whole planner. My start of my OCDs, like, you know, having everything lined up, and I would have to do like 100 sit-ups that night. And sometimes my mum would be like, right off to bed, like when you're younger, and I would turn the light off and shut my bedroom door, but I would be doing 100 sit-ups before I went to bed, you know, and I would do things like that. So even though it didn't look like I had an issue because I was quite healthy, I wasn't overweight, I wasn't underweight, I was healthy looking, but my understanding and my relationship around my body and around food and exercise was very unhealthy. And then I went off to dance college at 16. And then that just continued. Yeah.
And I think you're exposed to it so much more at college as well.
Oh, God,
and
yeah.
I think I just missed that age, that stage of it was cool to make yourself sick after eating when you were at college. But I think there was a group of people that I remember that was like that.
Yeah. I mean, I did have one friend of mine who was in my year at college who was anorexic, and she was signed off for a while. She was very, very poorly. So I think having been around someone who was really struggling with it, I in my head was like, oh my God, that's really bad. I'm not that bad, I'm okay. So I just normalized and because I didn't look unwell, I normalized it. You know, I just thought it was okay because I'm just being cautious.
Was it almost a control thing?
Oh, absolutely, 100% control thing.
I'm in control of this.
I'm in control of it. It was a control thing because so much of my childhood was out of my control. Yeah. So I found something that only I could control because nobody was going to force me to eat something.
And nobody knew about it.
Nobody knew about it. No, I was very, very clever, really clever. So like at college, like on a day at college, because I was living with a host family, like I'd get up and leave without breakfast. Well, my host family didn't know if I'd had breakfast and they were at work. You know, I was allowed to make myself breakfast. I just didn't bother. So I'd make a pasta tuna dish, like a bowl, that would last me the entire day. Just one bowl of pasta tuna would last me the whole day. And I smoked back then, didn't we all? And I used to smoke because it suppressed my hunger. So I used cigarettes as a way of...
that same group that I'm thinking about, they all smoked as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, it's when people look back now. I mean, I look back at photographs now of myself when I was 16 and 17. I'm like, God, I wish I looked like that now. But back then I was the bigger, you know, I mean, I remember being told at college that I was too fat. I had a job. You're too young for this, but some of the listeners might not be. There was a game show called Talking Telephone Numbers, and it was Philip Schofield that was the host. And this was through college. I auditioned internally, and I got the gig to be a dancer on Talking Telephone Numbers. And then we did the screening to just obviously like plot the routine and stuff like that. And I got taken to one side and said, we can't use you because £10 gets put on you by the camera. And I was like, seriously? They said, the camera's putting £10 on you. So essentially you're saying I'm too fat for the job. And I got cut because I was too big for TV. So again, and I was like 17. So that was just more kind of layers of more confirmation that I was too fat. Yeah. You know, when we worked on the cruise ships, one particular contract, we used to get weighed every week in front of each other in our underwear on the stage. Like we literally, it was a weekly weigh-in, and you strip down to your underwear in front of each other. And it was the cruise director. I remember him sort of kind of going, "Oh, Kim's put 2 pounds on this week." And you know, you're like, I'm on my period. Like, it's normal.
It was a male as well.
It was a male.
Of course it was.
So yeah. So you were shamed. Again, it's all about that shaming. So you're shamed that you'd put 2 pounds on this week. So again, it's just another layer of confirmation that you're too fat, you're too big. So yeah, this, you know, and again, it's all industry led. And I think my mum did it. She started it, but not through malice.
Yeah.
I think my mum wanted
again,
to
generationally. That's her
100%.
understanding.
And that's why I don't have that kind of negativity towards my mum. I'm like, she wouldn't have understood because we didn't have that understanding
and the
back
same
then.
thing was probably done to her.
Absolutely. Oh, I know it was. Yeah, absolutely. However, it's still going on today. And I'm being very cautious because obviously I have to be, because I don't want to get sued. But like, I had a client a year ago that came to me about someone that they knew was at a very formidable like college that's very, very prevalent in the industry. And their nutritionist, I can't believe I'm about to say this, their nutritionist in a class of students said, "Oh, just put washing up on your pizza because it will help it go through your system a bit quicker." I was like, I'm sorry, what? A year ago. And they were told, if you're that hungry, eat tissue paper. Did that not go out in the 80s? In the 70s? Like, did that not go out back then? No, this is a year ago. And these are the conversations that people are too afraid to have. And I think for myself now, this year, because obviously now I've stepped away from teaching, I know I'm in a position to ruffle some feathers, and I'm really ready to do that.
And you've already established yourself as such a pioneering person in this industry, and people have so much respect for you.
Oh,
you are so well known, and you are the person to do that.
I really hope so, because I think I'm not scared to have the conversations now. I think if I'm honest with you, I know that I have been doing obviously the work I'm doing now for nearly 4 years. Before years in April that I launched obviously my work. Unbeknown to me, I've been really holding myself back, and I wasn't aware of that until very, very recently, because obviously having my school, it's a really organic conversation with my own therapist one day, and I still have her because she keeps me on the straight and narrow, and also I think because of the work that I do, you know, people come and confide in me, and I think sometimes I need that place for myself to kind of just pass it on, and then she'll have supervisors, so she'll pass it on. It's how it works. And it was through a very organic conversation one day that I just said out loud that I don't think I'm able to be able to sort of shout from the rooftops about what I want to shout yet, because I'm worried about the reputation of my school. And then I went, oh my God, I didn't know that was sitting there. I didn't realise that I haven't pushed myself as far as I could yet, because having my own school meant that my mum, because it obviously was named after my mum, the reputation of my school was potentially going to be damaged if I ruffled too many feathers, and my teachers. I thought, I don't want them having their name tainted as a teacher because they're established with me, that because I'm going to say a few controversial things and maybe call a few things out, I don't want them being tainted.
Or even potential students that get jobs and they see that they
absolutely. So I didn't realise, you know, underneath of that subconsciously, I was protecting a lot of people around me and myself to begin with from not stepping up and saying, this is not okay. I don't have that now.
Scary. It is scary.
It is. But now I don't have
now,
that.
You're doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have the pressure of taking other people down with you.
No, absolutely.
That's not going to happen anyway, though.
I don't think so. I think I don't think it will. I mean, I know I'm going to come up against some people that are not ready to open up, and they're going to be quite resistant.
It's
and I'm fine. Problem. Yeah, absolutely. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
This industry is ready to change. There's so much that we are starting to do, but we're just not there yet. And I think mental health and the well-being of our dancers, not even just dancers, but in the performing arts industry, whether you're a singer or an actor, a musician, it's just as bad for them guys. But I think, you know, obviously my main world has always been dance, so that's where I kind of focus. But I think we are starting to make more positive changes, but we're not there yet. Yeah. And it's really difficult because I think I'm doing it in the areas I can do it. I'm doing a lot of teacher training now, so I'm getting them to understand their language, their teaching methods, the impact that has on their students. I now work for sort of dance examination boards where I actually teach unconscious bias to the examiners. which has been very enlightening, and I'm really enjoying that. I mean, the first time I did it, I was terrified because I was like, they used to teach me. There was so many of my old, like,
who am I to tell them that they're
honestly,
wrong?
I literally, like, the minute I went on that Zoom call, I thought I'm going to throw up in a minute. I had to, like, give myself 5 minutes to breathe. I was like, my watch was like buzzing at me saying, you need to take a break. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting in my chair. My heart rate was going mental because it was so daunting, because I did have massive imposter syndrome.
They're a good example as well of the people that have that intimidation
Oh
approach.
my gosh, massively.
Like, if I was an examiner, as soon as I saw little kids walk in the door, I'd be like, hi, like I would be all
I mean,
fluffy and
there
warm.
are some are really amazing, like examiners, but there are some that are, you know, of a generation where they still have that very authority kind of figure and that stance about them that even when I see, I kind of stand up a bit tall and go into first position. But to see on the screen, there was like over 100 examiners, and I was like, oh my, and I did that thing like, don't look. And then I was like, I'm looking, I'm swiping across all the Zoom, and I'm like, oh my God, she used to teach me. She taught me, she's examined me. And then I was like, do you know what? Just step into your zone and do it. And the response I had was really positive. So that was great. So there are changes there being made.
Looking at that on a flip side, if you think if it was you being that examiner, most, if not all of those examiners have come from a teaching background. I think you have to anyway. So they are going to have that nurturing instinct. And so many of them that have taught you are probably going, wow, I am so proud.
I had some messages from some of them, in actual fact, that they were like, I am so proud of you. And I was like, oh my God. And it was really, it was affirming that I was doing the right thing. Yeah. But it was terrifying. But actually, I sat with it afterwards and I was like, and it's taken me years to get to this point, but I was like, I'm really proud of myself for doing that. And now it's become a regular thing with obviously that examination board. Like, I've got dates coming up, you know, the next sort of 4 or 5 dates coming up for more examiners, you know, they've actually made it part of, they've actually made it part of their training now. So I've just done a brand new cohort of brand new examiners. They can't be signed off as an examiner now unless they've done my training. So to be able to bring that in is amazing. So there's more work to be done. And I think I've had so many conversations with people in the industry, and I say, there's work to be done with choreographers or directors or producers, because, you know, when they're professionally in the industry, they also need to know. But, you know, at the moment, I'm like, I'm just me. There's little old me, and this industry is humongous. So I feel like now I've understood, if I really work with examination boards and teachers, actually, I'm going to have a greater impact if I can get them to kind of like, if I can be Pied Piper and get them to follow me and lead the way and teach them, they will teach the next generation, and then we're going to have a greater impact in the industry. But I probably won't be around by the time it comes to fruition. Do you know what I mean? Because it's going to take quite some years. You think about like teachers that I'm training now that maybe have 6 and 7-year-olds. Well, realistically, like it starts at that age. Like by the time they're going to be teachers, it's like 20 years down the line. Yeah. You know, I'm going to be generational coming up to my 70s. Yeah. So it's going to be a generational knock-on effect. So it's going to take a while, but to be at the start of, you know, kind of making big changes is really exciting.
The legacy.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of people out there that I know that are doing the work. You know, I'm not saying that I've created this out of nowhere and nobody else is doing it, but I think, you know, a lot of people are doing it in a different way, but I think I've found an area that's not been tapped into before, and I think that's where I'm kind of excited to kind of lead that way, to go, no, we need to teach the teachers. Yeah. Like this has to be embedded in theirs, because that's how we make bigger changes over a long period of time.
So if someone's wanting to work with you, the teachers, I believe you have a new partnership program.
So I'm excited. So I've just literally on Monday this week, a couple of days ago, just launched a studio wellbeing partnership. So this is actually for principals. I'm only working with 10 studios this year. I've only got a couple of spaces left now, which is great. And basically it's a 12-month program that I get to work with them. So it's about changing, not necessarily changing, but enhancing the culture of their school. Because like we're talking about, so many of us that are maybe principals, whether they're younger principals or whether they're, you know, of a different older generation of principals, it comes with us first. It starts with us. And if we're not, I don't like using cliche terminology, but if we're not filling our cup first and we're not doing the inner work for ourselves, we don't understand the impact that we're potentially having with our moods or our energy on our team. So if we're not really connecting and communicating in a positive way with our team, they're not going to teach the kids in a really connective and positive way. So it really starts with the principal first. But within the program, They have teacher training. So they do like 4 teacher trainings throughout the year where I dive into different topics. One of them is obviously language skills. One's around about performance pressure, anxiety. So we talk a lot about the psychology about what anxiety is, how that manifests when they're in front of, an audience or an adjudicator, an examiner, or, casting. So there's different trainings for them. I give one-to-one support for the principal. I do workshop with the students. So it's a whole package of basically everything I offer individually, I do in one big package. So I'm really excited about that this year because I think that's going to help studios really. Consistency is key. That's a saying I often say to everyone. Consistency is key. It's not just a tick box. Like a lot of places we said earlier on, it's a tick box like, we've done a wellbeing thing. Like that makes us really good at wellbeing. No, it doesn't. You can do a one-off thing and within a week it's forgotten. This is about tiny golden nuggets every single week, every single month that they can go and implement, try out, start, nurturing a bit more, getting their teachers on board so everyone is using, and I don't want to say the same language because everybody's individual, but the undercurrent of how you give corrections, the positivity. And again, it comes back to positive reinforcement language. And there's a method called the SPEAK method, which is something I've created. SPEAK is an anagram. So obviously SPEAK is specific, present tense, effort-based, age-in-tuned, and then kind and caring. So it's just a nice formula that I created to help teachers to kind of, how do you speak to children? Well, we speak, so I've created this method. So I teach that as well, which has been quite interesting to kind of create. So all of this is over a 12-month package, and hopefully within that 12 months, the culture will start changing, and then it's down to them to keep that consistency going. But teachers individually, then obviously I have my membership as well, which is something that anyone who's in the dance industry can join. It's a low cost membership because for me it's about collectively trying to get more people making a difference. Transitioning from being a dance teacher, a dance school owner, into going into coaching was a huge kind of jump for me. And I've had the ability to kind of do both over the last sort of 3.5 years together, and then I made that decision to kind of jump straight into coaching. And again, from a business point of view, obviously, we've all got to earn a living. Of course we have. But for me, doing a membership, I was like, that to me is not about kind of how much money can I make. This is about, I'm on a bigger mission. It's about how much impact can I have. So the more people I can get, which is why I've done it a bit more low cost, but it's like 2 trainings a month that they can just attend. And then every single week they get a 10-minute task, which actually they really enjoy. And it's like one little tiny live that I do inside the group. And it's like a 10-minute task. Go and try this in your class this week. So again, I'm practicing what I preach. Consistency is key. Every week I'm going to give you one tiny golden nugget to go and implement, whether it's for yourself, for your teachers, for your students. So that's only been going for a few months now. When I launched it, unfortunately, as you know, I had to go and have, surgery. So I had a bit of time out. So, but 2026, I've got my boxing gloves on and I'm like, right, I'm so ready for this fight. So yeah, there's lots of ways.
2026 is ready for you.
Oh my God, I hope so, because I'm definitely coming for it. But yeah, I mean, and again, like doing one-to-ones, there's a lot of teachers out there, like we've sort of said, that are struggling themselves, that are either coming out of their careers and then having that identity crisis of like, I don't know who I am. That was a conversation I had with a client literally yesterday. Doesn't know who they are. It's like, I don't know who I am anymore. And that's really hard. Or just teachers that are finding just the struggle of, I think especially if you're running a school, the balance of the admin to teaching. A lot of teachers, I'm finding that business seems to be becoming quite a big thing, doesn't it? Like, I think where there are trailblazers now in the dance business coaching world that are allowing us to see that we're not just dance teachers, we are a business, which is beautiful. And I'm one of those people that jumped on that bandwagon and turned my business around. But I'm kind of seeing the other side of the fallout of that now. People are becoming so focused on running a business, they are falling out of love with teaching. Yeah. And that's where people are coming to me going, I've lost the joy. Yeah. So I've got to bring it back.
Who are the ones that feel that? It's the teachers, it's the students. It's finding that balance, because you don't want, essentially, and obviously I work with so many dance school owners, teachers, this industry. And they always say, I think I've maybe had one person in nearly 5 years that has said, so everyone will say that they started their school because they love teaching. They didn't go, I'm going to start a business, let's open a dance school.
Nope.
They love teaching, they love children, they love dancing, they want to pass it on. Then they open the school, it gets busy, they love it for a while, but then all the stuff comes with it.
The grown-up stuff, I call it.
And the fact that we're in the world we live in now, there's so much more of it.
Well, again, I think, we look around lifestyle changes, social media. I mean, that's another podcast conversation, talking about social media. And I think the comparisons are not just about children and the students, like it's an adult thing as well. And it's definitely a dance studio owner thing, because they see the studio down the road and their glossy kind of Instagram posts with these amazing like videos, and they're like, oh my God, I'm not doing that. I need to do more of that.
The comparison.
Absolutely. It's still there.
And this is where because I get onto the mentoring side of social media and brand building, this is where I am passionate about the authenticity.
Yep.
Don't go and do something because the studio down the street is doing it. The people that want that will go there. Stick with your gut, what you want to do, the vibe you want in your school.
Yeah.
Because you'll attract your people and they'll attract their people, and that is okay.
Yeah.
Let's not be clones.
No.
We don't want everyone to be the same. We don't want all the schools to be the same.
But that goes back to, again, probably their own experiences of that comparison. I've got to be the better one, like validation, external validation. I mean, that's something, again, social media, that kids are taught that they have to have external validation. How many likes did my video get?
Yeah.
How many comments did I get? That's external validation. Validate yourself first. Was it good enough for you? And realistically, like I say to everyone, to try and keep it real, how many takes did it get? Did it take for that video to be produced? How many filters have they got over it? How many cuts is that, like, to get that quality of video? That's not just my school was, we literally went video, post. We didn't care about
that's what I do.
And if I've got a kid that's got a sickled foot and I don't care, look at their face, they're laughing, they're smiling. That's the vibe of my school. If you want something where they're working at a real high level, that's not me. But I can tell you where there is a school, and if that's what you're looking for, go there. But I think, again, it comes down to being insecure about yourself and being secure. Like, are you insecure? And if you are, then you're going to be comparing yourself. Like, am I good? Am I good enough? What about this school? Because I was that person 13 years ago when I opened up my school. I was trying to validate myself. And I think a lot of the fact I was like trying to find myself, going, where do I fit? And then over the years, I've just kind of like, oh, this is who I am. If you don't like what we do, then we're not for you, and that's okay too.
And you can't be everything to everyone.
Absolutely not.
And you shouldn't be, because then that's not authentic.
But it comes back again down to your identity as well, doesn't it? Part of your core essence of who you are.
This is why I love what I do now. Now I've had, like you, I've had a bit of a shift.
Yeah.
It used to be so like social media heavy, and yes, we do social media, but it's with such a different reason behind it. Like, the motivation behind it is not to have like 50 million likes and followers and all that, because essentially, like, they make no difference anyway.
No.
It's that exact validation.
But
like,
I think I massively switched, because about 2.5 years ago now, I got hacked and I lost
I remember that.
everything. When you've built up so much and you're like, everything, like all my social platforms, my personal ones, my branded ones, my business ones, they even got into my bank accounts. It was a whole thing. So, obviously we managed to sort everything out. I restarted again, but I mean, the idea of having to go, I've got to build these accounts up again, was just like, it's soul destroying. So do you know what I did? I took the stance on, okay, this time we're not going to build it and try and get numbers. We're going to focus on quality. So yes, my Instagram for the Butterfly Mind has got about 750 people. You know what? Those 750 people probably are there because they are genuinely looking at what I'm doing. I don't have, a few 100,000 people and 90% of them are like, just because they found me and liked me. Like, I want genuine people. So I'm okay with not having masses of followers, because I'm not going to validate my work and myself and my worth on a number. I did that for my entire life with the weighing scales. We're not going down there. So again, it's about validating myself first, going, am I being authentic in the way I'm showing up on social media? And I am. And I know that sometimes, I say quite vulnerable, open, transparent, raw things, but my inbox is always pinging from people going, thank you for saying what I couldn't.
Yes.
And that's what means more to me than having thousands of followers.
Absolutely.
So branding is...
And that's why you build connection. And
and it is about the connection. And again, like with you, like doing the branding work, we are all a brand, aren't we? Aren't we all a brand?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what industry you're in.
And I always go as well, I find this really interesting from a mindset point of view. I get people to look back and reflect on back at school, sort of senior school years as a teenager. What would your, say, 3 or 4 peers, 3 words they would write about you at that stage of your life? Whatever they wrote, that's your brand. That was the brand you built unknowingly, without the label. That was the brand you built at that stage in your life.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm going into these workshops and everything, is, again, that separation of, that's maybe the performance you put on and people knew. So many people will have a different side of them.
Oh God, don't we all?
That isn't the brand. And it's,
it's the one normally when you're in your pajamas under a blanket with a cup of tea at home. Like that's you. That's who you are. The minute you put your face on, or the minute, like, I always joke about if my red lipstick comes out, like my students used to go, red lipstick's on. What does that mean?
She means business.
Kim's having a really bad day, or she means business, the red lipstick's on. Like always. And even now I say to myself, like, if I need that pickup, I'm having a bit of a down day or whatever, I'm like, red lipstick's coming out. It's just like a power thing for me. I'm like, that red lip goes on, and then I'm like, right, I'm ready for business. So again, it's just, that's a mask, isn't it? I mean, we all wear multiple masks every minute of the day. We are switching, in the car earlier, my husband, different energy and vibe to where I walked in, and as soon as I saw you, it's a different energy and vibe. Like, we show up differently. We're all chameleons in different essences and different environments, but not many of us can actually kind of go, but who am I in my rawest sense and my wholesome, authentic self? And I've done so much work over the years to really understand who that is now. I've lost a lot of people along the way. 100% I've lost people along the way, but that's okay too. Again, it's just accepting that that's okay too. Yeah. And I think having those different masks and being a chameleon is so, I think we're brought up to see that as a negative, but actually that's okay. Yeah.
As long as you do have that balance and that understanding of those different people and where and how you're doing it, I think.
Yeah, and the impact it has on other people around you, of course, for sure. But again, isn't that what we do when we go on stage and perform? Like I said earlier on, like we don't, I never used to go on stage just as me.
Yeah.
Because...
Well, it's that standing in the wings and you're sort of pulling your wedgie out your bum and you might be having like nervous farts and then suddenly, right, it's time to go on. And you're poise like, and you do your nice little run on and that's it.
And I, as I say, I still do that now, but I don't ever think I'm not authentic in myself. Yeah. Sitting here today, being on, it's just different energy as well. Like when I do talks, I did one for the ISTD Congress last year. And not last year, because we're 26 now, it'll be 2024. And somebody said to me, oh my God, you come across so like articulate and professional. I'm like, oh my God, I was a bumbling mess in my head. I was like, blah, blah, blah. My legs were literally shaking, which is why I was wearing like big baggy trousers. My legs were like this. I was sweating. I felt sick. They're like, oh no, you looked as calm as anything. And I'm like, because again, like you put that exterior kind of professional stance, doesn't matter what's going on inside. But the difference is I do know how to separate that now. Yeah. I know what is real and I know what is not real. And I'm so in tune with myself. It's taken me a lot of years to get there, but I'm so in tune with myself now. And I think it's so enlightening and freeing to feel truthful to who I am. And I often say to my my old students or teachers I work with, and I always call it come home. There is only one place you will ever be certain, safe, and truthful, and that's in yourself. You have to always come home to who you really are. And I think that's where some of us don't. We stay in that mask mode all the time, and it's so draining. And that's where your identity gets kind of lost within who you are, and you're switched on all the time and you don't know how to switch off. And I think learning to come home to yourself is an art in itself. And I think I've mastered that now. And that's where I love working with teachers, is to get them to come back to themselves. Yeah. Remove that identity. Yeah. But what you're doing is like teaching this for like young kids. I think that's going to be like so exciting. I can't wait to watch that flourish. I think that's going to be so exciting.
I'm holding my first one at my mum's studio.
Amazing.
In March.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good. So, I mean, between us, like obviously working with what we're doing, it's going to be interesting to see the generation, in it to come, obviously just how exciting. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't think I'd want to be a teenager in today's society, But equally, like from our point of view, like how exciting to know that there are things that are coming that are going to help these kids to be so much more wholesome.
Yeah.
And so much more mentally in tune with themselves.
And protected from the traumas that we've seen and experienced.
Yeah. My God.
Thank you so much for coming
You're
on
welcome.
the pod.
I think we could talk for like
I
hours,
know. Should we get a part 2 in the diary?
Yeah, definitely. Because I think it's definitely more that we could kind of like,
Absolutely.
dive deep into. But yeah, thank you.
Thank
it's been
you so
interesting.